Springfield's Talk 1041. Welcome. Hope you're doing well this morning, Wednesday, halfway through the week. A very special day for Sarah and me as we have our lunch bunch at Retro Metro on Wednesdays. Yes, indeed. And it could be a special day for you and up to 5 of your friends as well. As if you do win by going to KSGF.com and getting registered for lunch at Retro Metro for the lunch bunch, and you get chosen, then you're going to join us for lunch on a Wednesday with you and up to 5 people of your choosing. Great place to have lunch. And if you haven't been there, I definitely encourage you to go there, whether it's for lunch, dinner, or just to have some drinks. Retro Metro. It's on Republic Road in Cox. There, there's that sort of like a strip mall. I guess that's still what they're called. That's what I always refer to them to. They've got multi-units in there. There's a Hudson Hawk on the corner, and I think there's a walk-in clinic maybe, and a number of other food places, dessert places, and so forth. And Retro Metro is one of those, so I encourage you to go by. Great partners. Great partners. They have been with us. I'm like you, watching this Kamala Harris launch. And all I can think about is every so often, you come across these articles, whether it's Mental Floss or Cracked or just, some site, and it's the top 10 this. And one of the lists that oftentimes will pop up, well, I suppose it depends on the sort of things that you browse. The top 10 biggest marketing disasters or biggest corporate mistakes ever made. And generally it's when you have a company that has a particular product and then they decide to change it up. And it does not go well at all. I think for most people, New Coke is the one that comes to mind. New Coke is pretty much synonymous with that. Coca-Cola, people knew it. They liked it. And then they're like, I know what let's do. Let's have New Coke. And they came out with it and told you how wonderful it was and how excited everyone is about it and everything. But people were taking like, it's okay, I guess. Some people were like, no, I don't like this at all. Kamala Harris, thus far, it looks like she's starting to play out as the new Coke. Now, I don't want to, in the comparison here, Joe Biden certainly in no way, shape, or form is nearly as popular as classic Coke. I don't want to make that mistake. But this launch, as I'm watching it play out, and you're seeing those that have just decided that 100%, it does not matter what occurs. My job is to make sure that Kamala Harris succeeds. And you can tell those people because they go out and they start telling you how excited everyone is. They start telling you that, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this sort of excitement since Obama ran. And it's just, you can feel it. I mean, you can cut through it with a knife. And meanwhile, you're like, well, where's this happening? It reminds me also, I just have all of the images that I get in my head over the past 24 hours as I'm a recipient of the marketing of Kamala Harris. It's all product marketing, which is appropriate because that's what this is. She's a product that's being marketed. And I also think of, if you've ever watched, I don't even know if I have QVC and the Home Shopping Network. I think those are the big two. But I know there was a period of time, it seemed like in the 80s, where if you'll see it portrayed back during that period of time when they're just, here's some product and it's a can opener or something. But I mean, they're just talking about it as if it's the most amazing thing. And you're telling me that you can open a can with your right or left hand with this can? Tell me more. And all the audience is clapping. An infomercial, so where it's all overplayed, and you get it, you understand. They're trying. This is their job. It's to sell it to you. It's to take what is otherwise this mundane product, and they're doing what they can to get you to buy it. That is exactly what we're being subject to with Kamala Harris. We are an infomercial audience. She is the new version of something that people weren't really that excited about to begin with, which is why they thought we've got to upgrade this. And this time it's got this new feature and it's got that new feature. And everyone's talking about it. They're telling you. Now, you may not be hearing about all of the buzz and the excitement, but that's because you're out of the loop. But everyone else, all of the important people who really know the movers and shakers, they're all very excited about this. And this is what we're getting. I pulled specific audio. Well, the audio that I pull on days I play audio is always specific, but I've got two different types of audio. And some stories regarding reaction from those who are the infomercial hosts. But then also interesting bits of audio from just average voters. And there's a pretty big gap between the reaction of those who are trying to sell and market Kamala Harris versus those who are being marketed to. The Pyramid Roofing Company, talk at text line 447 KSGF, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today, mostly sunny with a high near 88. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday, we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. And then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And on Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 86.
Sarah says a better analogy, instead of Kamala Harris being the new Coke, that we're all told is very, very exciting and wonderful, but really it's falling flat at best, is Sierra Mist and what's the other?
Starry.
Starry. Was that a replacement for Sierra Mist?
No, so they rebranded.
Oh, they rebranded it. Yeah, that probably is better, because the flaw in the new Coke comparison to Kamala Harris is appropriate, but then the classic Coke to Joe Biden doesn't really fit, because classic Coke, the problem that they had is, why did you replace something that everyone loved so much, or try to replace it? Why did you try to change something? But Biden in no way, shape, or form was popular. That's why they dumped him. That's why they overturned 50 elections in 50 states, and which, by the way, it turns out that apparently is a big problem with black people, particularly Black Lives Matter. Not very pleased with the fact that the Democrats have overturned 50 elections in this country, telling them, no, we've decided we don't like how you chose, so we're going to tell you who you support. Oh, I'm telling you, you don't know what's going to happen. You can predict. But out of the gate, this is pleasurable to watch. It is, well, not if you are a Democrat. It certainly isn't. But just the self-inflicted wound after wound after wound after wound. Traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. Wilder RV. What a life to live, the life of an RVer. But it's too expensive. I can't afford it. If you can afford $165 a month, you can afford for your family to enjoy the life of an RVer. And that may just be 30-minute drive away to a campground. Or it may be cross-country. It may be that is the week's vacation. You think, love to go to Florida, but, you got the flights and everything, and then you got the hotel stays, or even an Airbnb for a week that can become very expensive. Well, all of a sudden, you cut those massive expenses down for $165 a month. Wilder RV, people come from all over the country to go to Wilder RV. Now, it is about, it's 85 miles north of Springfield on 13 Clinton, Missouri. And while you may think, wow, gosh, that's a bit of a drive, trust me, well worth it. That's why people from all over the country, that is their go-to place because of the reputation, the product, and the way that they treat you. They're not there to sell you. They're not there to upsell you. They are there to help you. You can check them out online. They've got a great website. It's very transparent, and the pricing that you see there is the pricing you get. They don't get you up there, and they're like, well, you got to understand, that's like this very base price, and we can't really charge you that because we got the delivery fee and or the pickup fee, and then we got this fee. That doesn't happen with Wilder RV, wilderrv.com, and at ksgf.com under Nick's endorsements. There is this factor that, to a large degree, gets overlooked before I get to some of the latest polling numbers, which is not good for the Democrats. It's a factor that is detrimental to Kamala Harris, and one of the reasons it doesn't get talked about a lot is because you can't necessarily quantify it so much. And, of course, Democrats and the media want to be in denial about it. And that is the fact that Kamala Harris, to those who don't know her, you and I, we just see her. Generally speaking, and I take the politics out of it. Democrats, Republicans, but just average person, she's just not very likable. She's not. She's not very likable. To the people who know her, she's even less likable. There have been, and we're going to get to this later, this just kills me. We've got a number of different excerpts and references to articles. Just a little over a year ago or so, these write-ups from editorial boards, from Democrat strategists saying that in order to win, you know what the at that moment Joe Biden's problem was? It was determined. It was Kamala Harris. We forget easily at times that Democrats were out there. I mean, it wasn't this overwhelming chorus, but the talking heads, the Carvel types, the New York Times editorial board types, they were saying that Biden needs to replace Harris because she is a drag on him. And now we've got the same media that is telling us, oh, she's the best thing ever. All right, so let's talk about some of the latest polling numbers. These continue to come out, and I think there was an NPR poll, maybe there was some poll that I think showed Harris up by 1 point, and so of course they're very, very, very excited about that. Okay, well, you can have that. The Morning Consult poll, Trump 47-45, Forbes Harris X, Trump 50-41. That's a 9-point lead. Quinnipiac 45-41. A piece, Fox News, Michael Lee writing that the race between former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris too close to call. Trump garnered the support. This is a Quinnipiac 49-47 released yesterday. The former president takes a slightly larger lead in a six-way race that includes other candidates such as Robert Kennedy Jr. And Jill Stein, Cornel West, and so forth, which is, again, they finally, incidentally, if you weren't aware of this, finally relented and gave RFK Jr. Secret Service protection. They've been holding out all of this time. I suppose they figured if he did get assassinated, it would just be a little too obvious that just maybe they weren't too upset about it happening if they didn't at least provide him Secret Service protection. Though, after the events on July 13th. I'm not sure that that necessarily makes him feel that much better. The polling, again, it shows that it's not really moving stuff. The problem also that the Democrats have with Harris is that history has demonstrated the more people get to know her, the less they like her. This isn't somebody who has a track record of, yeah, she just, one of those people doesn't necessarily make a great impression, but once she gets in there, her likability just really improves, and she has shown this time and time again. She's the comeback gal. She does not have that. And while some would like to point to her successes in California, that is California, where if you are a Democrat, you win. And the way that, of course, you get into winning within the Democrat circles, well, there are different ways. Her ways was being the side piece of Willie Brown. That's how she got her political start. So, once you're a Democrat and you get your start, you always win. Well, in certain parts, of course, and statewide. And that's what she did. So that is not in any way, shape, or form a gauge to her electability in the United States of America. According to two new recent overnight polls, Kamala Harris's popularity as a presidential candidate plunged with Hispanic voters compared to Democrat candidates in recent years. A Forbes Harris X survey has put Harris tied at 39% with Trump. The Friday, July 19th through Sunday, July 21st poll was conducted prior to Biden's withdrawal from the race. This is a record low favorability among Hispanics and is reflected in a second poll from Quinnipiac University, which also places Harris at 39%. The poll was conducted around the same period of time. In March, a New York Times poll had Trump beating Biden among Hispanic voters 46-40, which, of course, this has been a problem for the Democrats, and it has been a benefit to Donald Trump as an increase in support amongst Hispanic voters. But what they're finding is that Kamala Harris, in terms of Hispanic voters, is one of the most, has the highest unfavorability rate. She's got the lowest support of any Democrat in her position in modern history. This, again, not necessarily good news. There are two approaches that are currently underway to garner support for Kamala Harris. One of them we talked about earlier, and that is the infomercial QVC marketing of Kamala Harris, telling you what an exciting product she is, how incredible she is, how, oh my gosh, everyone's going to love her. Everyone's so excited. You've got your little built-in studio audience that applauds, and they get all the oohs and the ahs, and that's all to provide you a sense of how exciting this is. The other tack that is being taken is threatening you. Not with violence or anything, but threatening you with, you're a racist, trying to craft this narrative of fear. If you don't vote for her, then. In fact, Joy Reid on MSNBC, we'll get to some of these coming up here, talking about warning black people that people will think there's something wrong with you if you don't get in line and vote for her. I saw being passed around, someone had posted on Twitter, and I can almost guarantee you that this is something that Harris supporters, whether it's a PAC-motivated, pushed deal or the campaign itself, you are going to see what are supposed to be random voters portraying encounters in which they are in a scenario where there's all this support for Kamala Harris, but then there are those who are racist. I'll tell you one that I've already seen, and it was somebody that was claiming that they were at Starbucks and that the barista asked what name to write on the cup, and the lady said, Right, Kamala. And there was someone else in the line that said, "You go, girl." And everyone in line applauded. But there was one guy with a MAGA hat on, and he threw his muffin down, yelled the N word, and walked out. Now, this was somebody seriously posted this. I believe that is going to be the other method of trying to get people to vote for Kamala Harris, creating this atmosphere that if you don't support her, you're a racist. If you don't support her, you are a hate monger. You hate women, you hate black people. You're one of them, and they're going to create these stories. Now, you won't ever see this stuff play out, of course. No one here is a Starbucks. This sort of event plays out, and not a single person caught it on video in an era where everyone always has a phone in their hand. But I think that there is going to be a AstroTurf effort to flood as best as possible social media with these stories. More coming up. I'm Nick Reed. Got a traffic update, and right now a reminder that we are just a couple days away from free breakfast for veterans at Scramblers, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, and Delta Roofing, making that possible, along with Serenity Honors and Scramblers. If you're a veteran, all you got to do is show up, get free breakfast. Of course, the place is open for anyone, but it's a great way for veterans to get together and get some free breakfast. The Friday Road Show, always sponsored by Custom Shade Window Tinting, powered by 3M Window Film.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we will see mostly sunny skies with a high near 88. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. and then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And on Friday mostly sunny with a high near 86.
Pro-Biden social media influencer Harry Sisson said yesterday on CNN there's a fresh excitement around newly presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris that he hasn't felt since 2020. And you know, they won in 2020. So that means that this is the messaging here. He appeared on Aaron Burnett Out Front to discuss switching on supporting President Joe Biden as the party nominee following Biden's withdrawal from the race. The CNN host began by asking Sisson, S-I-S-S-O-N, what he thought of Harris's first campaign event, noting how he has been one of Biden's most vocal supporters online. And he said, it just feels like this energy has been injected into the Democrat Party. There's this excitement I haven't really felt since 2020. I think people are really lighting up behind Kamala Harris. Well, where's the polling that shows that? Listen, again, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying it won't happen. But I'm trying to figure out some of this stuff they're saying. Like, oh, yeah, there's this groundswell of support. Where are you seeing that? Are these the same numbers that Joe Biden kept claiming he was looking at when he was ahead of Trump? You know, we would get told that all the time when he'd get asked about the poll numbers and his lack of support. He's like, oh, no, those aren't the polls I'm looking at. Is this what we're talking about here? This secret polling that we're not privy to? Meanwhile, MSNBC, CNN left, quote, blown away with chills after the first campaign speech. One saying that he was jumping out of his seat. I mean, they're just all so excited about this. All right. Let's do a little bit of audio. I don't know that there's any moment that better sums up, at least right now, what is occurring on a national level with the introduction of Kamala Harris and the reception of said introduction within the American people than this moment with Chuck Schumer at a press conference yesterday. Oh, that's not it. Here we go.
This is played out from the grassroots bottom up. We are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
To me, that's it. Here he is, and he's got his press conference, and and you can hear he's trying to ramp it up. We're so excited, and nothing. He has to applaud himself, and he even says, I mean, because he feels the moment of embarrassment there, and don't worry, I'll applaud him.
There is so much excitement.
Oh
in the
yeah,
room.
I mean there is. It's a lot of excitement. I can't wait to start seeing the. So part of what I think is going to be funny if they do end up dumping her, because come convention time, I think there's a very realistic possibility. What's going to happen is they're going to realize, okay, well this clearly was the wrong decision. Are they going to at that point just write off the election? Or are they going to try and once again overturn the overturning of the 50 different elections and say, no, here's the new person? And what will be so funny about that is if they've printed and manufactured and put out all these signs, these Harris, which they can't even, this is part of the challenge. Until she announces a vice president, they can't really start putting those signs out. They can't even start printing them. So, you know, in terms of getting excitement, because you want to get that stuff out there. You want to get these signs out there. You want people seeing it so that you can demonstrate there's an excitement about this campaign. But until she announces a vice president, you can't even begin getting that stuff together. I mean, you got to put the orders in, you got to do it. There's a period of time, particularly if you're talking about mass manufacturing. But and you wonder, will they even bother doing that until the convention to see what happens? There are a lot of unknowns here. I mean, it's not even day to day. It really is hour to hour. Now, on the other hand, as I mentioned this earlier, you have, so on the one side, the marketing of Kamala Harris is, oh, she's wonderful, she's exciting, everyone loves her. And then the other is to scare you into voting for her. Joy Reid on MSNBC saying black people will look really weird if they don't vote for Kamala Harris. So this is black people get in line. If you do not vote for her, you're a traitor. If you don't vote for her, people are going to wonder what's wrong with you. Then on CNN's newsroom, Representative Maxwell Frost, a Democrat from Florida, said that any time an American or a member, anyone, talks about Kamala Harris, in the context of DEI, being hired because of her non-meaningful attributes, in the context of diversity, equity, and inclusion. She is a woman of color. That is no different than using the N-word. Might as well call her the N-word. Now, of course, Joe Biden I mean, he is the one who said he would only hire a woman of color. This isn't some secret. It's not as if he pretended, as if he had this full slate of people with diverse backgrounds, men and women of different religions and sexual orientation. He was very specific. Got to be black, got to be a woman. So he's the one, he bragged about it. This was her selling point. And partially, I don't know if this is his defense or not, he was pretty much threatened that you'd better do this, otherwise you will not get support of a certain segment of your voting bloc. What Congressman Frost and other Democrats, and you're going to hear this in the media, they want to scare Republicans away from making this point because they know that people are increasingly turned off. There's two reasons. People are increasingly turned off by DEI as they, I mean, just things that are beginning to occur. We're beginning to see the results of DEI focus, the practicing of DEI, whether it is the divisions that it creates and the anti-Semitism you see on university campuses, or potential problems within the Secret Service that allow a president of the United States to get hit by a bullet, or, Boeing planes having problem after problem after problem, whether it's pilot error or mechanical error, whatever the situation is. More and more people have grave concerns about focusing on things that have nothing to do with whether or not they're good at the job. And then when it specifically comes to Kamala Harris, they also don't want people to think about the fact that that is why she was hired. Because you're supposed to believe she was hired or she was selected by Biden to be her running mate because she was just so competent and brilliant and wonderful and so forth. But the problem with that, again, is Biden said before he hired her, or didn't hire her, but selected her to be the running mate, I am going to pick someone who is a woman and who's black. PJ Media has a great just sampling of when the media was saying that Biden had to ditch Kamala in order to save his campaign. That plus audio from real people, what they think about Kamala Harris, specifically some Democrats, some moderate Democrats, and black Americans. It wasn't but a year, year and a half, 2 years ago, so between now and the midterm elections, that the number one concern many Democrats and commentators had that wanted to see Biden get reelected was Kamala Harris. He needed to dump her. She was going to be a drag on the ticket. PJ Media has a sampling of some of this, and we'll get it up at ksgf.com under must-read headlines. As early as the fall of 2022, Bill Maher calling on Joe to ditch Kamala, saying it's very hard to take the nomination away from the president. What I could see is replacing the vice president because she's not very popular anywhere. And it didn't seem to work out, and I don't know, that's been done before in the ticket. A year ago, Newsweek editor-at-large Tom Rogers also argued the key to saving the 2024 election for all Democrats was ditching Kamala Harris. Quote, these disastrous polls have some arguing for ditching President Biden and mounting a serious alternative candidate. California Governor Gavin Newsom's name has been floated in this context, but this would be a mistake. The Democrats should not replace Biden. They should replace Vice President Kamala Harris, who's even more unpopular, and who would replace Biden in the event of an unfortunate circumstance related to his age and capabilities in September of last year. Eric Levitz wrote a piece in New York Magazine called The Case for Biden to Drop Kamala Harris, in which he cited her dismal approval ratings and the similarly negative public perception about her competence. He even positioned that her numbers would only get worse in the presidential limelight. Quote, Hillary Clinton boasted a 65% approval rating as Secretary of State, then went on to become one of the most unpopular major party nominees in history. In an article for the Washington Post that same month, columnist David Ignatius wanted neither Biden nor Harris to run, but suggested as a backup plan that Biden should ditch Harris. Journalist Josh Barrow similarly called on Biden to pick a new running mate for his 2024 campaign. Quote, even despite all the very real voter concern about Biden's age and stamina, she is a much worse national candidate than he is. This shouldn't be surprising because there is little in Harris's pre-vice presidential career to suggest that she would be a strong national candidate. So the media has, If you a year ago had told me that the media had not even begun to start destroying its reputation, I would have been at a loss to predict how they could do more damage than they already had done. You know, with the Russian collusion hoax and all of these things that they would print that would turn out not to be true, and they give each other awards for printing disinformation campaigns. The Hunter laptop colluding with the government in order to suppress true information about the Biden family. But watching these same people, who were told us, the same people who told us that Biden was physically fit and sharp as a tack are now telling us that Kamala Harris is this wonderful speaker. She's so riveting. She's wonderful. And those are the same people that a year ago or more were saying that Biden should drop her off the ticket because she's the drag on the ticket. And now they're telling us, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. I suppose a great question to ask. All of these columnists, all of these Democrat commentators who are calling on Joe Biden to ditch Kamala Harris off the ticket, boot her, were they also racist? Were all of those Democrats misogynistic? Were they anti-woman? Were they akin to the KKK because they weren't supportive of Kamala Harris? I suppose that doesn't count now, does it? Black Lives Matter, saying that the Democrats are a party of hypocrites for installing Harris sans public voting process. The left-wing organization resisting the installation of Kamala as the presumptive Democratic nominee, calling on the Democratic National Convention, quote, to create a process that allows for public participation in the nomination process, not just a nomination by party delegates. Now, Chuck Schumer has an answer for that. Chuck Schumer was asked the question about this process of, now, of course, again, this wasn't just one primary election, 50 that the Democrats have overturned. And the fact that this is in no way, shape, or form the democratic process, this is a bunch of insiders telling the voters, sorry, we know who you chose, but we're now going to choose for you. And this was his response. You'll hear the question and then the answer.
Yes.
I know you said that this would be a bottom-up process, but Kamala Harris is the vice president of the United States. There was no other competition. This is going to be selected by party delegates, insiders, essentially. What's your case to the American people and to the Democratic voters that voted for Joe Biden that this isn't a coronation?
The bottom line, it was a bottom-up process. People just rallied right to her side. The enthusiasm in this big, diverse, representative party was amazing. It was palpable. You could cut it with a knife.
Post-debate has been an absolute dumpster fire of chaos. Absolute dumpster fire of chaos. And just listening to the way that they describe it, like, oh, this process, she came about because of a groundswell of support. Did you know that? See, if you listen to him, you would not know that it was the party elites telling all of the voters, we're choosing for you. Kamala is going to be the one. No. The way that they're describing it is that there was this groundswell amongst us. You may have missed it. And that groundswell of average voters, and you may be one of those Democrat voters, decided that you wanted your vote overturned. And so you went to the party leaders and you said, please. And Democrat voters, overwhelming groundswell of Democrat voters in every one of the 50 states, enough to convince the Democrat leaders to overturn their vote and instead install Kamala Harris. That's what he's pitching. I also love the positioning of Joe Biden's decision to drop out as so patriotic and so honorable from the people who threatened the 25th Amendment. They held a gun, a proverbial gun to his head. I mean, the guy held on. I got to give him this. Outside of just not giving up altogether, he held on for a very, very, very long time. He held on a lot longer than most would have. But he eventually relented. And the people who, pressured, ran these nasty anonymous source campaigns against him, out there leaking information in order to make him look bad. The threats to withhold money, and what would eventually culminate to the point that the bigwigs went and said, we will use the 25th Amendment. We will humiliate you. We will do something that has never been done in the history of this country, and we will take steps as a Democrat Party to deem you so mentally senile you can't even function to be president of the United States. And so finally, he relents, and then those same people, he cares so much for the country. That's why he did. Oh, that's why he did it? Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Don't forget, for all of your car care needs, A1 Custom Car Care, you get that check engine light on. They are the place to go. You can, of course, it's a way to draw you in oftentimes with the big box stores. Hey, we'll do that free for you. And then, oh, hey, look, we have the product. This is what's not working. The code says this isn't working. And so here's one of those things. We'll sell it to you. But it doesn't tell you why it's not working. It may not be working because of something up the line, if you will, that is caught, that is doing something it shouldn't, which causes it to break. So that means you bought a new part only to get broken again. The diagnostic testing done at A1 Custom Car Care, it pinpoints the source. So you don't have that problem. That's the difference. So whether it's diagnostic or otherwise, whatever your car care needs, A1 Custom Car Care. Coming up tomorrow, Friday, we are going to be having a Heroes Breakfast. So if you're a veteran, it's our favorite month or day of the month when we have these, along with Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, Delta Roofing, Serenity Honors, and Scramblers. You get free breakfast as a veteran. All you got to do is come out and join us Friday from 6A to 9A at Scramblers. And it'll be a great time. Great breakfast, great friends. It's always it's a real buzz, if you will. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. If you need a great home loan, there's a place for you, and it's conveniently titled IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. That's where you get started. In fact, if you're looking at homes, you're thinking about looking at homes, even if you aren't sure that you're necessarily going to purchase a new home, still, step one is IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com. You're going to enter some basic information. Someone from the Carica team is going to get back with you and tell you how to roll. They've streamlined the process, made it as simple as possible, and then that way you can get that pre-approval letter. And again, you may not need it. You may not end up using it, but you got, I think it's 90 days to do so. And that way, if you do go to an open house from 2 to 4 on Sunday and you're like, oh, this is it, this is the one, and you want to put in an offer, you can say, look, here, I'm good for it. Here's the letter showing that I've been approved for this, and I'm good for it. And then you can start the process, because if you don't have that and somebody else that day does, and they also put in an offer, guess who gets it? It ain't you. IWantAGreatHomeLoan.com, because you do. All right, so the Kamala Harris is polling worse amongst Hispanic voters than any Democrat that's run for president. What about the African-American community? Now, the black community, you are supposed to get in line because she is half Jamaican, half Indian, and that makes her a person of color, which means you're just supposed to, you're supposed to vote for Democrat anyhow, but now you're really, really supposed to vote for her. Left-wing organization, I mentioned this earlier, but we're going to play some audio. Black Lives Matter resisting the installation of Vice President Kamala Harris. In a statement yesterday, the group, which rose to prominence in 2020, so forth, said that a 24-hour process of talking to party bosses is not democratic, nor is it a process Democrats should be proud of. Though they're very proud of it. Listen to them. This is the most exciting thing that has happened in a very, very long time. This is just so, I love when these people, their own creations turn against them. And Black Lives Matter was not a creation of the Democrat Party, but it flourished to the degree that it was able to create billions of dollars worth of damage, kill citizens and police officers, and rake in God knows how many millions of dollars because of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, Trump, you got Trump as president, and they saw that BLM could be, if they just had enough support and enough cover, agents of chaos. And the Democrats' view of things, or the more chaos there is in the country, the better the chances are that Trump will not win re-election, because people don't like chaos. And to a large degree, they were correct. It's one of the reasons that Joe Biden won, is because the big pitch was, hey, everything will go back to normal. Things are going to calm down. The adults will be back in charge. Dignity will be brought back to the White House. And everything's going to be fantastic. And people bought into that. We had all the riots and the killing of police officers and citizens and cities burning to the ground and everything. And then COVID happened and people were just exhausted, emotionally exhausted. So the promise of normalcy was very attractive to a lot of people. Black Lives Matter was seen as an organization that could be pumped up, put on steroids with support of the Democrat Party, to the point that they could then create this sense of total chaos in the country, helping them get into the White House. Well, all of a sudden, however, Black Lives Matter may be a problem for them. Now, there was a period of time where, BLM's a big deal, right? We're supposed to listen to BLM. I mean, you had these people on the left letting them paint these murals, these sidewalks, crosswalks. Schoolrooms had Black Lives Matter flags. I mean, it was virtuous. Signs and everything. All right, well, now Black Lives Matter is calling out the Democrats as being anti-democratic. Furious with the Democrats. Unhappy with Harrison. They're demanding that no, there needs to be a discussion at the convention, not an installation. All of a sudden, we don't seem to care so much about what Black Lives Matter think, do we? Isn't that interesting how that works? They're getting the Code Pink treatment. See, Code Pink, some of you will recall, was an organization that was largely seen as founded or inspired by Cindy Sheehan, a woman who lost her son in Iraq. And she lost her son and had actually met with President Bush, but then became this anti-Bush person and began these protests outside his home down in Texas and and all of these other Code Pinkers would show up everywhere. And she demanded to meet with him, and he had already met with her, but that was something the media never mentioned. And she was just, George Bush was this monster, bloodthirsty monster. And I'm telling you, Code Pink, you could not go wrong with Code Pink. Oh, you can't say anything bad about Code Pink. Code Pink, this is a mother who lost her son. No one is a better foreign policy analyst than Cindy Sheehan and her supporters. That, of course, until Barack Obama got in charge. And Cindy Sheehan didn't go away. And there was an instance in which she was protesting outside Nancy Pelosi's office. All of a sudden, Code Pink was a pain in the butt and to be ignored by the media. And BLM is in... Now, BLM became much bigger than Code Pink. But we're seeing this same scenario here where an organization that organically may have just sort of popped up, but it was seen as an opportunity. Oh, we can feed this beast. We can make this huge, turn it to our advantage, until all of a sudden it turns against its master. Now, will this sustain itself? Will BLM go beyond just a press release? Let's not forget, Chicago already, 1968, the riots, there were already grave concerns that there could be potential for riots. BLM, I don't know if you're aware of this. That's on their resume. So the fact that they are apparently very upset that the convention is not going to be used in a fashion that they think that it should be, and at this point used in order to really debate and to have other Democrats have an opportunity to make their pitch for the presidency or for the nomination for the presidency, and instead they're just being told, sit down, shut your mouths, we're going to choose for you and you're going to like it. That potentially is a recipe for another summer of love, specifically in Chicago, come August. Got weather in a moment. Right now, latest news.
And your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 88. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday, we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. and then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And on Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 86.
Local for Less Ozarks this Friday, 10 a.m. at KSGF.com for $12.50, $25 gift certificates or gift cards, I'm not sure what form, to Cabos Bonitos Grill and Cantina. And I was told yesterday in a meeting that you can purchase up to 4 of them if you want to. So you can get, for $50, $100 worth of food at Cabos Bonitos Grill and Cantina. That, again, will be at KSGF.com, local for less. 10 a.m. that launches live. But right now, you can register to win. Last chance to win. Tickets to see Aaron Lewis Saturday, August 3rd in Lampe at Black Oak Amphitheater. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you.
I was just going to let you go out of the gate,
I
but you didn't know that.
No,
that was on me.
I didn't
that was
know
totally
that.
on
Look,
me.
Here's the thing: you're supposed to introduce me.
I know.
That's how this works over here.
Well, it's this new weather thing where you're doing weather. It's throwing me off.
Is it?
Yeah, it's because coming out of the bottom of the hour, then you just go. I don't throw it to you, and that's where my mind was.
Okay.
Sarah Myers, everyone.
You are ready to make that first step in purchasing your very first firearm. Quick Draw Gun in Monette is the place to go. I highly recommend them, especially, like I said, if you are in the market for your first gun. They have great customer service. They're not pushy, and they're not a hard sell either. If you have questions, they do a great job answering them. I had a great experience down there at Quick Draw Gun, and I know a lot of you have had a great experience as well. And if you haven't been down there, I know you will have a great experience when you finally do make that trip to the shop. The shop, it is pretty easy to find. It's about an hour drive from Springfield, just a straight shot down 60. It is well worth the drive down there. And in the meantime, if you are out there and you are looking for a specific firearm or accessory, or you want to get on the books for their custom Cerakoting or laser engraving services, go ahead and give Brad and his team a call today. You can find all of that contact information for Quick Draw Gun under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Kamala Harris, being half Jamaican, half Indian, is an individual that is supposed to compel total and complete compliance and obedience amongst black people in this country. So you are supposed to vote for her as president, support her as president of the United States. However, some black Americans have not gotten the memo, like this former Democrat that was on Fox News.
African Americans know that the legal's benefit card is worth more than our worthless black card. So why would we care about who Kamala Harris is, about her race or her gender? We care about the policies that she has pushed with Joe Biden for the past 3.5 years. We are struggling. We can't even make ends meet. You talked about retirement earlier. I have to work till I'm 70 years old in order to get my full retirement. So, no, Black America is not supporting Kamala Harris. All right. Her color has nothing to do with the failed policies that she has championed and stood on for 3.5 years.
Now, she called her Kamala, which is my understanding means that you're a racist against black people. This is one of the new talking points that Republicans who say her name wrong are saying it deliberately because somehow that I don't know, that's supposed to be offensive to her as a woman of color. Now, that she was on Laura Ingraham last night. I found her reasons to be very telling. Because they were reasons about things that actually impact her in real life. As opposed to, no, I'm going to support her because I'm black and she's black. And listen, there are some people that way. There's some white people who will support her because she's black. There are people of all walks of life that will support her because of her looks. That's why, because her skin color, her looks, that's where they put their priorities. This woman, however, is talking about things that actually affect her life. We played a couple of weeks ago a Daily Show segment in which one of their reporters / comedians interviewed a panel of 6 black Americans. And this was before Joe Biden had announced he was dropping out, of course. And 3 of them were Biden supporters, and 3 of them said they were going to vote for Trump. And the 3 who were Biden supporters in the clip, they were pretty much like, well, we hate Trump. How could you support him? Those who were Trump supporters, they talked about, because of the economy, the education, they're talking about real things in life. Because they're human beings who are impacted by real things. Now, one could say, well, it's Laura Ingram's show. Of course she's going to find that. Coming up, I want to play some audio from The Breakfast Club. This is the hip-hop radio show, morning show in New York City. Charlemagne the God, of course, is the host of that, and he is oftentimes, they go to him as somebody who has, to a degree, insight into the average black American because he takes callers. Now, of course, you're talking about New Yorkers, but I thought I'd play some of those calls and their reaction to Kamala Harris, the person they're being told that they are supposed to support. That next. I'm Nick Reed. Also, KSGF.com, the KSGF app, and YouTube. You can not only listen to, but watch the show as it unfolds. That thanks to Springfield Raps, who also designed the KSGF studio, which you can see to some degree in that live feed. Listeners of the Breakfast Club called into the show yesterday giving their feedback on Democrats and Vice President Kamala Harris. And, of course, they're now being told they need to support for President of the United States. Here are some of those calls.
Okay, so first let me say I'm so happy to see a woman running for president, and I'm grateful for that. However, does that mean I was on the fence even with Biden running again? Because everyone talks about, oh, let's get the black vote, let's get the black vote, and they get the black vote and nothing changes. And when I say nothing, I mean our education system. Our children are suffering in New York City public schools. And let's talk about services. My brother's paraplegic. He got hit by a drunken driver. It's very hard for him to get services. And I understand that they allow the migrants to come in, but they come in and they just overwhelm them with services, and they forget about the people that are already here. So what's going to change with that? What are they going to do with the black agenda to help our children that's struggling in New York City public schools? They're not even on the same level as other kids in other countries, and that's what my concern is. So is something going to change because Kamala's running instead of Biden? Like, help me out. We're confused here.
Well, those are all valid questions. A lot of those things you named are local issues, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's stuff you should be going to your local government with.
Yeah. Hello, who's this? Hello?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your name, bro?
My name's Callie. What's up? Good morning. How y'all doing?
Callie, good morning. What's your thoughts, brother?
Callie.
Hey, man, I just want to say y'all the GOAT. Y'all been helping me survive mornings for a decade now, from college to work. I just want to say that.
We old, baby. Let's go.
Man.
Thank you, Callie.
Just new, but we old. We old.
Hey, man, oldness is greatness, you know?
You already know.
I don't think America's ready. I don't think America's ready for a female president. You know what? I'm a black man, and I absolutely do not want another Democratic president in there. I think we should give the Republicans another try. There's a lot of agendas that the Democratic Party has kind of put into place that I don't support. I think they're destroying the black man. They're destroying the black family. I think they're ruining our country. And if you're living in New York like I am, man, this place is a financial nightmare, not to mention crime. I think if we put Trump back in there, man, it's going to be amazing. Kamala cannot do what he's going to do to bring this country back to where it needs to be. And this is not a race thing, because that's the number one thing they like to say when they talk about Trump and how he's a criminal and blah, 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 blah. I don't think any of that matters. His policies are what we need to focus on, and he's going to get us back where we need to go. Kamala is not ready.
So that, again, a number of different callers there on the Breakfast Club, New York hip-hop morning show. And again, listen, I'll note that these black Americans, we're talking about specifically here, when they talk about meaningful things that impact their lives, they do not support what's going on. That guy talked about the education problem, as did the previous caller. She talked about illegal immigration. He talked about illegal immigration. He talked about crime. He talked about New York being a financial nightmare. These are real things. And what is happening, and this is what's so dangerous for the Democrat Party, are any voter, but in the context of black Americans, that start paying attention and start caring about what's actually happening. Start looking at the results of the Democrat policies. Generally speaking, whether it's man on the street or otherwise, if you ask, and by the way, this is for all voters, but again, in this context of the black voter, why don't you like Trump? Well, usually, oh, he's racist, or, well, because he did this, things that aren't true. They're not talking about, well, because I'm so much better off now. Things were worse under Trump. But the people who are, and you hear this all the time, as a black American, how can you support Donald Trump? And they keep telling them. They keep telling them. But they don't listen. And when I say they, I'm talking about the elites, I'm talking about the establishment, I'm talking about the media, I'm talking about the Democrat Party. They list off the reasons, and they're You could have a complaint line of Americans, specifically Black Americans, and they're going to tell you reasons they support Trump. And I could probably, with a great degree of accuracy, tell you what it is they're going to say, because they're things that all of us are suffering from. The economy, illegal immigration, education, crime. You know, these are some of the big ones. Notice none of those people talked about abortion. None of those people talked about the environment. And I believe that the Democrat Party and the media is amplifying this. They are doing even greater damage to themselves with the Black community because they are demonstrating that they are not listening to them. The Black community, those that are perhaps on the fence, they don't know, or those that are leaning towards Trump or saying they're going to vote for Trump, they keep telling them why. Here are the reasons why, but they keep being asked over and over again, how could you vote for Trump? And they realize they're not even being listened to. The question that comes from the media, that comes from the Democrat Party to the Black community, that question of why do you support Trump? They're beginning to realize they're not asking because they actually care. They're asking in order to label them some sort of ignoramus. A traffic update, more in moments. Pyramid Roofing Company talk at text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we will see sunny skies with a high near 88. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms around 1 p.m. and then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And for your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 86.
There is a radio host. What is this gal's name? I lost. Karen Hunter. And I'm not familiar with her. She's a black radio host. I don't know if she's syndicated, if she's local, not sure. But she said something about what she believed was an unspoken problem that black voters have with Kamala Harris that I wanted to play. And well, I'll play it and then give you some thoughts on it. It's very short.
I'm going to just be honest with you. The white husband was a problem for a lot of people. But that said, you married him. Don't hide him.
So she, which you heard there, said that, listen, let's be honest. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Her having a white husband is a problem for a lot of black people. Now, if you had, I don't know how true that is. If you had asked me, is that going to be a problem for a significant number, or I think she said a lot of black people, I would have said no, I don't think so. I think it's fair to say she probably has a better idea as to whether or not that's a problem than I do. I find that to be very interesting. And I don't know really what to make of it. Now, of course, you and I, we both know, if there was anybody on the radio, anyone on the radio who was a white person that said, well, the problem with this candidate is that he married a black chick or she married a black guy, they probably would not even be allowed back in the building to collect their things. They would be gone. It'd make national news. They would be used as an example of racism within the white community and so forth. But it's just, I mean, there's a couple of different things here. It is amazing how acceptable racism is in the black community. I mean, when you think about it. And, that's fine. You want to feel that way, believe that way. I'm not one of these people that think, well, she ought to be kicked off the air. Hey, this is how we learn information about people. This is one of the reasons that I really like free speech. And find that it's valuable. It gives you insight. It helps us learn about one another. When you learn about one another, you get a better sense and idea of what motivates them, how it is to better coexist. But at the same time, I think it's enlightening, and some people aren't going to see it, which enhances my point about how acceptable racism within the black community has become, that I think the vast majority of people think nothing whatsoever of hearing that. Again, I'm not even offended by it. I mean, I find it interesting, and again, that's one person saying that. I don't know. I would not have thought that it would be significant to the point that black radio host, again, her name's Karen Hunter, and if you didn't hear the audio, she said, let's be honest, one of the problems that a lot of black people have with Kamala Harris is that she married a white guy. Her husband's white. It's also interesting, she said, but don't hide it. So that suggests to me, at least she feels as if the reason you don't see him a lot is because she does keep him hidden. And the inference there is that she believes that Kamala Harris recognizes that is a no-no within the black community for a black woman or woman of color to marry a white guy. And I suspect that if that is problematic, it's more in the densely populated areas, the blue counties, the Democrat areas of the country. It's a very interesting snapshot of how acceptable across all races that racism actually is in this country. Not where we're told it is, right? But where it actually is, that you can be like, the real problem here is that she married a white guy. Now, again, the issue itself, I don't know how much of an impact that'll have. I find that very interesting. And it is the sort of thing that I would like to. It'd be interesting if there were a panel of people who believed like she did, or like she asserts that her fellow black people do, that is problematic. And open, totally open conversation as to why that is problematic. And when I'm not talking open, what do they say? Tough conversations, like the left says tough conversations. We need to have tough conversations. When they say it, what they actually mean is conversations in which we rip on conservatives and you have to take it. But I mean, completely unvarnished, just because sheer curiosity. What about a person that finds that to be so for a black person that finds that to be so problematic? Anyway, I thought it was an interesting comment, and quite frankly, an obstacle that, if it does exist for Kamala Harris, was not on my radar. I thought, poor old Kamala, all of the obstacles that she has, everything that she has going against her. And then to add that one to the list, Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. I have this interesting piece in the Washington Examiner from Selena Zito. Lifetime Pennsylvania Democrats are becoming Republicans. But I first wanted to share, this is touching a bit off of something that I mentioned earlier, and there was an interview with a Democrat congressman from Florida that said references to Kamala Harris being a DEI hire is akin to the N-word. And then I see this Salon headline: she was a DEI hire, right-wingers slam for responding to Kamala Harris's, pick for, the presidential ticket deal or whatever. And so what is occurring here is we are being told that it is racist, that it's horrible, that it is awful, right? If you reference Kamala Harris as a DEI hire. I thought DEI hires were good. I mean, think about the absurdity of this contradictory message. The left has been pushing DEI as virtuous. The left has been saying if you are opposed to DEI, you are a racist. Now, what they're saying is if you acknowledge, point out, oh, here's a DEI hire, then you're racist. Well, which is it? They're not saying that people are racist for being against her because she is a DEI hire or pick. They are saying that they're racist for saying that she is. So in other words, that they're in that argument that they're making, and I really hope Republicans pick up on this, because here's what I fear, that Republicans, and many of them immediately like, well, okay, let's back off the DEI thing because we're being called racist. Don't back away from it. Use that. Use it to point out to they are the ones that are painting themselves into a corner. They are the ones who have created this catch-22. Don't let them out of it. I'd have every Republican on every reference her as a DEI pick. Well, isn't that racist? Is DEI racist? Is that what you're saying? Well, no, I'm just saying if you're claiming that she was a DEI. So you explain that to me. Why is that racist? Put it back on them. Make them explain it. What makes someone acknowledging or otherwise what we're told we're supposed to celebrate this stuff? I mean, doesn't the city of Springfield have some six-figure person that's their entire job is this DEI stuff? We've been told people who are opposed to DEI, they want to erase history. They want to whitewash history. They don't want kids to learn about slavery. DEI is the greatest thing in the world. Eric Holder, he has been, and this is just, of course, fantastic. Eric Holder, former attorney general, who's held in contempt by Congress under the Obama administration, is helping Kamala vet her vice presidential pick. To do that, he has temporarily stepped away from his job of doing DEI audits of corporations. Because DEI is wonderful. So he is being paid God knows how much money by, either the corporations directly or some sort of, Lord knows what sort of, socially engineered organization there is that gives their label to corporations if they're DEI compliant. And so Eric Holder is the one that comes in to make sure that they have enough DEI hires, to make sure that they're doing enough in order to prove that they are DEI compliant. This is actually a fantastic opportunity. Man, I feel Republicans effing this up. I feel them losing this opportunity. And I'm not saying just from a political context, but to educate people about the damage of DEI. That even apparently when it comes to Kamala Harris, Democrats are claiming that the concept of somebody being picked under the umbrella of DEI or because of DEI is a horrible thing. It's an awful thing. How dare you accuse someone of that? Now, as we talked earlier, the reason that they have started this is because they don't want Republicans talking about it. They don't want Republicans telling people this. They don't want people to realize this. And to surrender that, which Republicans tend to be very cowardly when it comes to this sort of thing, they start to position something or characterize a scenario, a situation, a candidate, a campaign, and then the media comes along and, well, that's racist, and then they stop doing it. Well, we better not do that. Turn it around on them. Why is it racist? Ask them. Make them explain it. Play dumb. I don't understand why it's racist. Explain to me why it's racist. We have DEI in schools all across this country, DEIs in universities. We've got DEIs corporation. In fact, Kamala Harris's person she has tapped to vet her VP candidates, that's what he does. He audits to make sure people are DEI compliant. So why is it racist to observe, to notice DEI hires? Well, if the response is, well, because it suggests that that's the only reason she got her job. Is that what DEI does? DEI puts people in positions that they're not qualified for? Is that what you're saying? Well, no, I'm not. Well, then, okay, what's the problem here? Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Aaron Lewis is going to be in Lampe at Black Oak Amphitheater Saturday, August 3rd. You can get registered. Last chance to win tickets by registering at ksgf.com. This is his Great American Patriot Tour. Okay. Go ahead and click that there. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address Congress amid high-profile absences. Those high-profile absences are a number of Democrats because, he's Jewish and all. And the Biden campaign had made it pretty clear that they were very concerned about losing support amongst their neo-Nazi wing. And so this is why they had to show support for the efforts of Hamas, use the Hamas talking points, spend their time in the bully pulpit on the world stage condemning Benjamin Netanyahu of all these atrocities and so forth and turning the world against him. If there's been one country that has really benefited from this embarrassing debacle that has caused the flaccidity of the executive branch, it has been the Israeli people, because it has allowed Netanyahu to move forward without Biden consistently out there acting as a mouthpiece for Hamas. Well, if any of the Jewish voters or Jewish people in America or Israel or any throughout the world thought that somehow Kamala Harris coming along would take the boot off their neck to some degree, they're very wrong. She's boycotting the address. She is supposed to be up there in the chair next to Speaker Johnson when Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is speaking. She's boycotting it. This, by the way, a day after pro-Hamas protesters stormed the Capitol. So in a show of solidarity with them, with people who stormed the Capitol. Of course, it's not referred to storming the Capitol. It's much different because they're pro-Hamas. And the Harris or whomever the presidential candidate campaign for the Democrats is going to be, they need that anti-Semitic vote. Patty Murray, she was then supposed to fill in, and she said, no, I'm not going to. So finally, I forget what Democrat is going to be sitting in that place, but he's not running for re-election. So he doesn't have to worry about it. There are a number of other Democrats that are showing solidarity with Hamas. Bernie Sanders, Dick Durbin, Elizabeth Warren, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, among some others. I mean, hey, I happen to genuinely believe that this is a good thing because it lets Americans know where they truly stand when push comes to shove with whom they side. Can you imagine if after we were attacked on 9/11 and as we're fighting the war on terror, the United States had gone to Israel and you had top members of the opposition party boycott it because we were too mean to the terrorists, because we were going after bin Laden? Thank the Lord that the world did not treat the United States after 9/11 like the United States is treating Israel after October 7th. It is not only a betrayal of an ally, it's a betrayal of history. It's a betrayal of our commitment to never forget. It is a betrayal to humanity. And with Kamala Harris at the helm, the torch has been passed to continue, at least under the current leadership, the United States as being the biggest moral and messaging ally of Hamas in this effort to finish what Hitler started. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed.
Thousands of protesters are expected. President Biden tonight will address the nation about his dropping out of the 2024 race for the White House.
For the past week, the president was sidelined with COVID at his Delaware beach home. While there, he decided to end his re-election bid following mounting pressure from Democrats. Tonight, from the Oval Office, he will talk to the country about his decision and the remaining months of his administration.
That's White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Republican leaders are warning party members against using overtly racist and sexist attacks against Vice President Harris. The warning comes as lawmakers and former President Donald Trump's campaign scramble to adjust to the reality of a new Democratic rival less than 4 months before Election Day. U.S. regulators are investigating how Delta Airlines is treating passengers affected by canceled and delayed flights as the airline struggles to recover from a global technology outage. Aviation analyst Jim Hetzel says he thinks Delta will bounce back from the problems.
This is not customary for Delta. They've always kind of exemplified themselves as being very operationally sound. I do believe they are working diligently to recover, and I would expect them to see big improvements again within probably the next couple days.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announced the Delta investigation on the X social media platform. Taiwan has shuttered offices, schools, and tourist sites across the island ahead of a powerful typhoon. The typhoon had winds of 113 miles an hour. Heavy rain was falling in much of Taiwan. On Wall Street, Dow futures are down 185 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
What does it take for organizations to triumph? It takes trust. But trust is getting harder and harder to gain, which is why over 2,700 organizations display the ECFA seal. The ECFA seal gives your organization the third-party credibility that people are literally looking for. And in turn, an estimated 14 million givers support ECFA-accredited organizations. Let us help you maintain a trusted reputation as you reach the world for Christ. Visit ecfa.org/triumph to learn more.
The largest trial court in the country had been closed after a ransomware attack.
The attack shut down its computer.
Got a Heroes Breakfast coming up Friday. If you are a veteran, we'd love for you to join us at Scramblers, along with Serenity Honors, Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, for free breakfast for veterans. That's right. All chipping in, getting together, buying breakfast for veterans at 6A to 9A this Friday as we broadcast live at Scramblers. And the Friday Roadshow, always sponsored by Custom Shade Window Tinting, which is powered by 3M Window Film. Also, Friday at 10 a.m. at KSGF.com on Local for Less Ozarks. Half-price deals, that's right. $25 gift certificate for only $12.50 to Cabos Bonitos Grill and Cantina, and you can get 4 of them. Okay? So you can really stock up on those babies, should you like. I wanted to share a piece in the Washington Examiner. Now, Selena Zito, I believe we've had her on as author of the week, and it was sometime after the Trump election. If I remember correctly, Becca's had her on and these others. She had a book out, it was something about revolution, but essentially what she did was seek out why, like, who are these Trump supporters? She really, truly was interested, because the Trump election was a very big surprise. And what happened? How did this happen? Not like a lot of people in media who say they really want to find out, but then they don't actually want to find out. She did. She was very curious about it, got a lot of insight. And so she oftentimes is the go-to in terms of assessing what is happening. Pennsylvania, of course, pretty important state. In fact, the governor, who is a Democrat governor, Josh Shapiro, is largely seen as potentially a running mate for Kamala Harris. Most bets are he won't get it because although his resume on all fronts for a running mate as a Democrat would be good, he's a Jew, and Democrats don't really want that. Ugh, you can't have that. So for that reason, they figure that isn't going to happen. But they have to at least entertain him, you know. So, hey, no, listen, we talked to a Jew. So, Selena Zito has a piece, Lifetime Pennsylvania Democrats are becoming Republicans. She writes, Shirley Hall has always lived in this charming Blair County borough, located a few miles from the big city of Altoona, and once the home of booming coal and paper mill industry. She's also been a Catholic all her life, and for most of it, a registered Democrat. 2 attributes she says are, or at least were, a profound part of her entire identity. She's still a Catholic, faithfully so. But last week, when watching former President Donald Trump walk into the convention hall in Milwaukee just 2 days after being shot, she changed her voter registration on the spot. In short, she's not just a Democrat voting for Trump come November, but she is now a Republican and will be voting so up and down the ballot. How solidly Democrat was Hall? The retired administrator for a local Catholic church voted for Barack Obama twice, Hillary Clinton in 2016, did not vote for Donald Trump in 2020. Quote, I didn't vote for Biden either, I just didn't vote for either man that year, she said. Hall said a number of things led to her pivotal decision last week. Quote, the last 3 years had really disheartened me, and how my party had handled inflation, never recognizing that it is really impacting people's lives, but also the border, and how that has made accessing drugs even easier for people, she said. But the 78-year-old grandmother of 2 said she has great concern for the younger generation because of her grandsons. Quote, not just because of them, but because of all young people with the debt, higher taxes, our education system, our immigration system. And I've been really frustrated with the whole thing. She adds, I want to tell you, I'm not a big Trump fan when he goes on too much, but I also recognize that he can also be very likable. But after this shooting, as an American citizen, I really felt bad. Hall said she was curious to catch Trump at the convention, something she would not normally watch. I wanted to see his demeanor, and I was really moved by him when he came in, she said. As a matter of fact, I had tears in my eyes when he did. He really looked like he took a blow, not only physically but emotionally, which I'm sure he did. She added, I used to work for a priest who was a bit gruff and a pain in the butt. And he grumbled and growled and shouted and yelled, and yet he had the wherewithal to feel for people. He did that. That's what I saw in Trump, and I thought, I'm changing my party. Click, 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 click. I went into my computer and did it. The choice of Vice President Kamala Harris to replace President Joe Biden on the Democratic ticket after last week's dramatic turn of events changed nothing for Hall, who said, quote, first, I liked her less than Biden. She's much further to the left than I'm comfortable with for our country. And second, she was shoulder to shoulder with Biden on every big policy decision that's been made the past 3 years. So she is the same as him, only more removed from from now former Democrats like me. Hall's decision is notable. Chris Borick, political science professor at Muhlenberg College, explained, in that she's not just a Democrat voting for Trump, but she has shed her Democratic Party identity in its entirety. That is as personal to her as her identity as a Catholic, he said. And Borick said her experience is not anecdotal. Quote, she's part of a shift in party registration in Pennsylvania that has been seismic in this state that began in 2016 and has accelerated in the past 18 months. In 2008, the same year Obama won the state by a resounding 10 percentage points, Democrats had a sizable 12% registration advantage over Republicans. In 2022, that number had shrunk in half to 529,000 Democratic registration edge. And by this year, the number has shrunk even further to 360,982, which is barely a 4% advantage. Republicans have actually surpassed Democrats in the all-important counties of Bucks and Beaver for the first time ever in the latter. And Borick explains that sometimes registration numbers are lagging indicators. What I mean by that, he says, is that voters have changed their voting patterns before they will change their registration. So they may vote, or they might vote, or have been voting Republican for a time, or at least since 2016 with the ascension of Trump and the GOP. He said, by the way, this is not an easy decision for a voter to make, especially for legacy Democrats in this case that might have had family for years be Democrats to say, okay, well, I'm no longer a Democrat. That's part of our identity. There's lots of research, by the way, that shows we hold fast to our political identity more so than some of our other identities, even religion. Borick said the effect in Pennsylvania of Harris's entry into the race is going to be highly scrutinized because of the importance of the state's 20 electoral votes. While most recent polling showed Trump favored by varying degrees over Harris, CNN polling expert Harry Enton warned on air that numbers might be tough for Harris to overcome. Quote, beating Trump won't be easy. His favorability rating is higher now than it has ever been per 2 polls taken over the weekend. Harris may poll better than Biden did against Trump, but Trump is running 5 points further ahead nationally against her than he finished against Biden in 2020. Borick says Harris's challenges are much the same as Clinton faced in 2016 and that she doesn't connect with voters where they are. Quote, we always try to quantify likability and how people relate to others in the political realm, he said. The vice president certainly has connected with those, contended with those challenges and will in terms of her connection. Borick said Harris has opportunities based on identity and her demographics to maybe make some connections that Biden was struggling with. Quote, that's unquestionable with younger voters, with voters of color. At the same time, does her ability to resonate with voters that are often older and older in states like Pennsylvania? Are those going to be new challenges that she faces? Overall, though, Borick said Harris's challenges with voters here are no different than Biden's in that they rarely address the issues in a way that voters needed them to be meaningful. And inflation is, of course, for front and center. That is part of why I changed my registration, Hall said. They never saw me. They never heard me. It was hard for me to leave until I realized they didn't want me anymore. And then it wasn't hard to leave at all. That is so profound. ever since, it was about a year into this administration, when the inflation was beginning to be felt in a meaningful way. And the administration was claiming, oh, that it's just transitory, and that, no, it's not that. And then when it even was beyond transitory, and it was really, people are having to make life decision changes based on the Biden economy. And they kept saying, no, it's great, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, everything, it's better, oh, you should be so grateful. And I argued back then that that's worse than not addressing it at all. And I equated it to, you call customer service with a problem. Your internet, it's slow or it's cutting in and out, and you call customer service and they tell you not only is it working just fine, but they've won all of these awards, and all the experts say that they have the best service possible and that you could not have better internet. Now, how angry would that make you? And that's what the Democrats this entire time have been telling voters. And it's so profound. And that's what this Pennsylvania grandmother, who's been a Democrat her entire life, that's what she was reflecting. She realized at some point they were not listening to me. When they're telling me that I'm doing fine, they're telling me the economy is fine. And it's actually kind of sad. When she said, it was hard for me to leave until I realized they didn't want me anymore. Then it wasn't hard to leave at all. And I can guarantee you she isn't the only one. News update, I'm Nick Reed.
And your first alert forecast from Colorton Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 88. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms around 1 p.m. and then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And for your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 86.
Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Wanted to read a review for the Pyramid Roofing Company.
Okay.
I'm going to. Lewis wrote, heard about the Pyramid Roofing Company on KSGF, for the last couple of years, and they truly lived up to their reputation and went above and beyond. Our experience was nothing less than outstanding. Having a roof repaired isn't something that you want to spend money on, but Pyramid made the process so easy for my wife and me. Outstanding service, Pyramid. And that's what you get with the Pyramid Roofing Company. Josh and his team, they want to make that roofing process as easy and as simple as possible while also delivering the best service possible. They're great folks over there. Couldn't recommend them enough. And whether you are needing a whole new roof, a roof repair, gutter work, or just a free roof inspection so you can get an idea of the health of your roof, the Pyramid Roofing Company is the company to use. Go ahead and give Josh and his team a call today. You can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
There are reports that Harris has plans to raise taxes even higher than Biden does. If that's the case, that's a very good narrative for Republicans to make sure Americans know about. Right now, the narrative that they're trying to create is that she's the most progressive ever. I wouldn't go that route. I just don't think that's effective. And it's what Republicans always say. Not that they're necessarily wrong, but I just think the labeling people, okay. What is the problem right now? This would be if I'm the guy in charge and all eyes are on me. Okay, what is our unified message? Well, what's the problem? Well, people are unhappy. Right. Well, they're unhappy with this. Okay. So they're unhappy with the way things are, right? The message is more of the same. This is just more of the same. Kamala Harris is more of the same. Every voter that you hear talk about having problems with Biden, or they're going to vote for Trump, or they're not, they're struggling, but it's always because of the things that are going on now. So what those voters, what needs to happen is they need to understand that Harris it's the same, but Harris is going to be worse. I wouldn't even say that. Because then you get people a hyperbole, and because all that people worry about now is how things are now. That's bad. More of the same. More of the same. If you're happy now, if you're happy with the way things are going, then yeah, Kamala Harris is your vote. That's the direction I would go. That's just me. That's what I would tell people. That's what I am telling people. I mean, like over the airwaves. I'm just a guy. An elderly man in Hancock, Michigan is in, you may not have heard about this, critical condition after what police are calling a politically motivated attack on Sunday. The man, who has not been identified, was putting up a yard sign supporting Trump around 5:45 p.m. when a suspect driving a Honda ATV drove onto the man's yard, ran him over with the vehicle. The driver reportedly then began to pull the Trump sign out, or to pull out the yard signs. And when the victim tried to put them back in the ground, the driver ran over him. The victim was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, including a brain bleed, and is reportedly in still critical condition. The 22-year-old suspect, whose name has not been released to the media, was found dead Tuesday in a home in Quincy Township with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. There was a little reported story, though some of you may have been aware of it. Last year, it was in September of last year, when a man got only 5 years in prison after he admitted he ran over a teenager for being pro-Trump, killing him purposely. This story from September of 2023, CBS. North Dakota man sentenced Friday to 5 years in prison for running over and killing an 18-year-old after a small-town street dance last year in a case that drew attention of Donald Trump after the driver claimed that the teen was a Republican extremist, and that's why he ran over him. Fully admitted, it's premeditated. 5 years. Yeah, it's just a Trump supporter. Ashley Babbitt. She's just a Trump supporter. In fact, let's make that guy a hero. And if you notice the rhetoric against Trump, the rhetoric against Republicans has not slowed down. It has not stopped. Republicans are still extremists. They're the scariest things in the world. They're a threat to life as we know it. You see, many people that are reasonable people, even people that really hate Trump, hate Republicans, think they're awful. When they see that someone takes that to heart and murders people, they go, maybe we ought to back it off a bit. Not this party, not the media. And I think a lot of people, even Republicans, make the assumption that, this almost, they'll be sorry. When another one of their supporters either tries successfully or, fails but makes an attempt to kill, a young Trump supporter, an elderly Republican, Donald Trump, then they'll be like, then they're going to have a real moment of self-reflection and they'll be sorry. They're not. I mean, there are some Democrats say, well, not only Trump had it coming, but it's his fault. She was wearing a dress. She deserved to be raped. Well, all the Trump things that Trump says, he deserves to get shot. By the way, the Secret Service is calling on Trump to no longer hold outdoor rallies. So because apparently they are incapable of doing their jobs as an institution, the Republican candidate has to go into hiding. That is the atmosphere that has been created in this country. Isn't it interesting that they aren't calling on, at least thus far, Kamala Harris to not hold any outdoor rallies? This is the atmosphere that has been created. Listen, the Bernie Sanders supporter and campaign volunteer went to that Republican softball field to kill as many Republicans as possible because he believed that he was going to save this country. The would-be assassin of conservative Supreme Court justices started at Kavanaugh's house with the plan, in his own words, to take out as many conservatives as possible. Why? Because he was going to save this country from these conservative extremists. You have these other, incidents, most recently in Michigan, elderly man run over because he was putting a Trump sign in his own yard. They don't care. They don't stop. Yet we're told that it's the, Trump rhetoric is going to cause violence. Really? Oh, see, it did against himself. Oh, okay. Blame the victim. When you constantly tell people that their lives are at risk, that the country as we know it is going to dissolve, that gay people are going to be executed and journalists are going to be put in prison, the absurd things that are said on national television, you cannot be surprised when people believe you and think, I need to stop that madman. I need to do something about this. I need to stop their supporters. You can't be surprised by that. And I've said, and listen, those of you who have listened for a while, you know that I have been saying that they will get Trump, that they will get him killed. They will get him killed. I've been saying that since even before the election officially started. I said, you cannot Convince your supporters that this guy is Hitler and not expect one of them to think, well, somebody's got to do something about this. It's just inevitable. I'm not some sort of... Now, fortunately, the assassin failed by the grace of God. But I haven't been predicting this for 2-3 years now because I'm some sort of psychic individual. It's just obvious. It's human nature. It's human behavior. And given that their rhetoric doesn't appear to be slowing down any, I don't think it's going to just stop. But this is the country they want us to be in. They want to develop an environment in which the Secret Service has to tell, or decides to tell, chooses to tell their opponent, guess what? We don't think that you should be out there campaigning any longer. Now, here's what's going to be interesting, because I suspect Trump will say, no, we're not going to stop campaigning. Is the Secret Service going to say, well, then we're not going to protect you? Sorry, it's too dangerous. Is that what they're going to do? Is this the environment? You know, they couldn't keep Trump locked up in court to the point that he wasn't able to get out there on the campaign trail. That was clearly the point of all that, was to keep him off the campaign trail, drain him of his financial resources so that he wouldn't be able to get out there, advertise campaign, and keep him tied up in court. And that didn't work. Well, look where we are now. Oh, for safety purposes, you can't campaign. This is where we are. This is the environment they want created, where any political opposition is too fearful to even get out there and campaign. And if ever, I suppose, there was a candidate that would defy that, that will defy that, that is Donald Trump. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Went a bit long, that segment. Sorry to traffic as they hold by for our final traffic report of the morning. We'll go to them now.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 88. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 68. On Thursday we do have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms around 1 p.m. and then mostly sunny with a high near 89. And for your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 86.
So there's a story, Secret Service urging halt to Trump's outdoor rallies after assassination attempt, urging him to halt the rallies. And as I mentioned, well, isn't this just perfect? They couldn't keep him off the campaign trail, tying him up in court, and lo and behold, now this. Now, I'm not saying that, this gunman was hired by and this, that was, I'm not saying any of that. That's a whole nother discussion. But this is an environment they created that they want. They're not ashamed of it. This is what they want. An environment in which they are totally in power, and a scenario in which political opposition it's not even safe enough for them to campaign. And the Secret Service, think about this, is the executive branch. This is under Biden, is according to reports saying, oh, we're not going to be able to protect you. Sorry. I haven't seen any reports they've told Kamala that. Secondly, I don't think, though this doesn't surprise, because the mindset, particularly amongst the leftists, changes, and it just culturally, I do not like allowing people who attack us in one form or another dictate our behavior. This is one of the many reasons that I'm opposed to the idea of, somebody shoots up a school, let's ban guns. No, there's the whole Second Amendment aspect of it, and the fact that logically that would not lead to any safer environment anyhow. But the fact that it sends a message to the bad guys, if you want something changed, just do something awful. Or we're going to reward this guy? Clearly he didn't like Trump. Tries to kill him. So, all right, well, we'll just say we can't protect him any longer, and he won't get to campaign in big outdoor rallies. I've never been a big I'm one of these guys. If somebody hits you, somebody takes a pot shot at you, you don't cower. You don't change your way of behavior. You say, no, I don't think so. I'm going to continue on the way that I always have, and if I have to push through you to do it, so be it. This cowardly, we don't know that we can, well, then what is it that you do? I mean, as if this entire scenario has not proven to put America on display as pathetic enough. Now, according to sources, the Secret Service is just going to kind of give up and be like, well, we just don't even think we can protect you any longer, so. What, for the sake of the Secret Service, what shred of respect that they still might have in the American culture community at this point, I hope that they come out and say this is absolutely untrue. This is absolutely untrue. You can't embarrass us any more than you already have. Oh, just wait a minute, everyone. Let's go to Chris in Hermitage. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, I think a lot of people don't realize the progressives have always been following Rousseau's civil society playbook, which the French Revolution was a perfect example of, except they skipped a few steps and went straight to killing, and that's why it was such a mess in France. But you start out with, you present your platform and get natural converts, then you start cajoling them, and then you start, forcing them through indoctrination, and if they still won't convert, then you start shunning them, silencing them, banning them, exiling them, and then if that still doesn't work, you start imprisoning them, and then the final stage is, if they won't do that, you start killing them, and that's what stage we're at now, to try and get to this progressive civil society utopia that they want.
Well, and at the same time, what are the ways to go about it? And they're doing this to some degree successfully. You get people to alter their behavior by taking an event and accusing them of being responsible for it. So in other words, Trump gets shot. Well, it's because of Trump's rhetoric. It's because of Trump's rallies. And so it's not the left that needs to tone down their rhetoric. No. It's his fault. He did it. It's the fault of the victim. Again, it's no different than saying, there was a rape on the campus of MSU. Girls need to stop wearing dresses. It's the exact same sort of response. And that's how they oppress people, is they will, whether they're involved in the event or not, more times than not, they just capitalize. They create an atmosphere that encourages a certain action to take place. Then when it does, so for example, I've already given an example, Trump is Hitler. Trump is going to be the end of the world as we know it. Trump is going to cause a holocaust of transgenders. Trump is the worst thing in the world. And, you just go on. And then when somebody hears your call and thinks, well, okay, I'm going to be the hero and stop this. I have to. It's my moral obligation. And then they try to do it. Then those same people say to Trump, well, this is your fault. It's because of the things that you're saying. It's because of the Trump supporters. It's because of all this. So you need to change your behavior. And I mean, this is where we are, as plain as day. Chris, I appreciate the call this morning. Got a break, and then, I've got a couple of other things that I want to share with you. I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. We had an absolutely positively fantastic experience working with Emily. She was the buyer's agent on our new home and the seller's agent on our former home. She worked so hard to make sure things ran smoothly for us, helped us through some challenges, and was a true advocate when we needed one. I don't think you could convince me that anybody else could have done better. We have no intention of moving again anytime soon, but when the time does come, Emily will be our first call. That is just one of dozens and dozens and dozens of specific feedback that you get from folks who use Emily Johnson House Theory Realty, whether buying, selling, or in that case, both. You can find her, social media, Emily Johnson House Theory Realty. Easiest way, I would say, is to go to ksgf.com, Nick's endorsements, and you can find her there. Christopher Wray is going to go testify about the investigation into the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. I suspect it will be just as enlightening as the now former Secret Service director's testimony was. Perhaps Christopher Wray will resign within a day or two as well. Highly doubt it. House Judiciary Committee probes DOJ on Supreme Court justices' safety after assassination attempt on Trump. Leaders with the House Judiciary Committee are looking into the safety of the justices after the assassination attempt on Trump. So they're like, wow, this could be worrisome. This is a little late. I'm not saying this is a little late because, or in reference to the Trump assassination attempt, it has been glaringly obvious that the Supreme Court justices, the conservatives anyhow, are vulnerable to attack after Chuck Schumer riled up a crowd on the court steps, specifically citing Roe v. Wade, specifically citing Kavanaugh, telling him you won't know what hits you if you touch Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade gets, quote, touched. And then lo and behold, who would have thought, a would-be assassin made his way to Kavanaugh's house. Now, the only reason he was stopped was because he called 911, or he called his sister just to give a final goodbye, assuming that he was going to lose his life in his effort to kill not just Kavanaugh, but he had posted, I believe it was on Reddit, that he was going to kill as many conservative judges as possible. And so he called his sister, and his sister called 911. That's why they knew. Now, at the same time, we would learn after that, first off, it is a federal crime. It is against federal law to protest outside the homes of Supreme Court justices. They were allowed to do it. Now, of course, if it was some Trump-loving grandma who walked into the open doors of the Capitol on January 6th, a couple decades in prison. But if you violate a federal law, Merrick Garland said, we're not going to do anything. Not only that, but deputies were told to stand down, to not arrest the protesters who were violating federal law unless it was absolutely necessary, whatever that standard is. And even then, they were instructed to first check with the local federal prosecutor to see if it was okay. So in other words, you're not going to be able to arrest these protesters. The protesters knew it. They created an environment, a hostile environment. Merrick Garland should have been impeached for that. That is when the House Judiciary Committee should have been probing the DOJ on the Supreme Court justice's safety. But I suppose better late than never. There are two individuals, Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Osborne. You know Mark Zuckerberg. Jack Osborne, the son of Ozzy Osbourne. The two of these individuals have made comments that are similar to one another, that I think are fascinating in the context of the world of toxic masculinity, that I think is very, very telling and perhaps indicative of a shift in this country, a massive cultural shift that could be yet another alteration or evolution of our path due to Donald Trump. That next, I'm Nick Reed. Mark Zuckerberg, clearly not a fan of Donald Trump, made some headlines when he referred to not the Trump assassination, but Trump's response to it as, I believe he said, it was the most badass thing I've ever seen. The son of Ozzy Osbourne, Jack Osbourne, the whole Osbourne family, they're not Trump supporters. They've been quite critical, especially Jack and his sister, of Donald Trump. But he was on a podcast last couple of days, I'm sure. And the conversation of the Trump assassination popped up, attempt. And he said, when I first heard about it, I thought it's not real. It's not for real. And thank God the guy was a bad shot. But he killed a man, he lamented, speaking to Corey Comparatone, the local firefighter shot and killed by the gunman. Sharon Osbourne, Jack's mother, said heartbreaking. Kelly chimed in. Horrible, the innocent people that got hurt and killed. The family also expressed shock and disbelief at the security gaps that led to Trump and 2 others being wounded, as well as the death of the firefighter. Ozzy also commented that guns are so easy to come by in America. Later on, the family talked about Trump's reaction to the shooting when he got up from having been hit due to the gunfire and told the rallygoers, fight, fight, fight. Jack came out and said that he would vote for the former president after seeing that display. He's not a Trump guy. This changed him. His mother marveled at Trump's response, adding, he's as strong as an ox. Yes, her son agreed, adding, but I look at it like this, and I actually thought this was an interesting perspective. He said a president should be a leader. A president should be strong. A president should be able to kind of walk through anything. He gets shot in the ear, stands up, raises his fist while they're trying to drag him off the stage. He doesn't want to leave that stage. He continued saying, I'm like, okay, he might not be totally full of blank, because someone who's full of blank, if they get shot, the facade fades real quick and you start seeing someone's true colors. I was like, okay, dude. And then it references some of the anti-Trump things he said in the past. What he and Zuckerberg, and I think a lot of other people, felt when they saw Trump was something that there really is a great vacuum in this country, and it's manliness. It's what the left has retermed toxic masculinity. That manliness is a bad thing. That sort of macho, tough guy, stand up, I could take a bullet, you're not going to knock me down, and if you do knock me down, I'm going to get right back up over and over and over again until I win. And for years and years and years, and young boys have been largely targeted with this effort to convince them that that is a bad thing. But there's something within human beings, that it's the way that we're made, that just naturally responds to certain behaviors. And you can try as best as possible to rewire people into believing that certain behaviors are inherently bad. But when you see them on display, particularly in a chaotic sort of scenario or situation, you just can't deny the reality of it. And I think that Trump, that show of what I'll call manliness, is something that is so far and few between any longer in this country that it made it resound to an even greater degree. Glenn Beck's next. Talk to you tomorrow.